I could hear what was going on all the time. I mean, I feel like that's totally ADHD.
Yeah. Like me not wanting to go to bed, apparently ever. Like, forget that about me.
You didn't want to go to bed?
I don't remember. I remember getting up from bed a lot, and I remember Mom telling me later, when I was like probably a teen, that it used to frustrate her all the time because like Dad would let me get away with whatever, and so I would come out and like of my bedroom and make like a weird excuse as to why I had to hang on the back of the couch and like talk to them a little bit longer, and he would just let me get away with it. She'd be like, she was too bad. Quit it.
I feel like that's all kids, but maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know if I've done my tinfoil hat thing about neurotypicality to you yet.
Oh, I don't think you have, but can we come back to, we spaghetti brain?
Yeah, duh.
Should we introduce ourselves? I mean, I think they know who I am, hopefully by now.
Yeah, I was like, at this point we've been talking, I know this is if we should do like intro, snap. Here, bam, here we go.
Who wants to go first? Not me. Not it.
Oh.
Fine, I'll go.
Yay!
Yay, Josh!
Yay!
Okay,
I'm
you
Josh.
gotta drive.
I'm the baby therapist.
Oh, okay, how baby are you?
I start grad school this fall.
Okay.
So, therapist, student, soon to
In
be.
training.
In training, extraordinaire. Very excited. We're very proud.
Yay, I'm so excited.
Yay.
Okay, next.
I was gonna say intern, but I'm not anymore. I'm licensed.
Woohoo! I'm so excited.
Like licensed MFT, marriage and family therapist, Avery, local queer in the community.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people are queer in the community, although you did have the queer debate with me, so.
Right, well, yeah, there's that's a whole other thing about, like, I have a whole different definitional idea of queer versus LGBTQI. Either way, we're a couple of gays. Point is, we're in the alphabet mafia. Good for us.
Right. Josh is not. Straight up.
Sorry.
That's twice.
Get out. Just tuck and roll.
How dare you?
Look at the two of us having dyed hair and pronouns.
He still has pronouns.
Apparently not. According to transphobes on the internet, the worst thing you can do is have pronouns.
Oh, God. We're gonna get banned already. We're like 2 minutes and 47 seconds in. Anyway. Oh, that was the other word. So, I don't think y'all have already caught me on ums yet. I do think that I have already said them. Maybe not. But ums and anyways.
Ah.
Ums and anyways. Starting now at 3 minutes and 7 seconds.
Yep.
Alright, so that's the third word, but we're not going there. I can't do three at once.
You're already committing to removing so many from your vocabulary.
I know.
You're asking a lot of yourself
I'm working
right
on
now. Yeah.
Okay, so the whole point of being here is I recorded last week. What week are we in? Yeah, last week because it was Saturday and I haven't posted it yet, but we'll get there. So I recorded on Saturday the first half of this video where I almost said it. Did y'all hear the break? So, okay, that's not the one.
You can do it.
I know.
I believe in you.
Oh my God, is like another word? Anyway. Oh, okay. Okay.
What brings us in the car today? Is it
I know.
Than the plan?
1 minute, and I have already effed up once. Okay. So we're here because I already recorded one half of this video where I bought Josh 16 books and I recorded half of the reviews for those books, but I thought it would be really fun to do a podcast and talk about these books so that other people could ask questions and learn about them and whatever, so it's not just me, because I feel like I'm sometimes a little bit boring, but maybe maybe I'm not.
Stop being mean to my friend.
I'm not trying to be mean, I'm trying to be a realist, but you know, maybe that's just me.
I also just love that, I mean, I don't know how many of the plethora of books that you have gotten to read since Sarah purchased them for you.
It's been a whole 3 days.
Oh, so
None.
Yeah, got it. Cool. Yeah. So we are looking at 2/3 of the crowd literally not knowing these books, I've been like piecing through them, as in I've been looking at them in the car and being like, that title looks neat.
Well, and that was the great part too, like at dinner as he's opening every single book, because I wrapped them. So that's the great part about this video. It's going to be half book review and half ASMR. It's so crinkly. But yeah, so like, don't say it. So, didn't do it. It was it doesn't count. It doesn't count. It was only half. Am I allowed to be dirty in this one? I don't know. I am naturally dirty, but my channel has not been dirty yet.
They don't know you like we do.
They don't know me. Okay, so yeah, half book review, half ASMR. But I think this will also be fun because now they get to see maybe my personality, because I can't help it. And they get to see my friends who are so great. I have like the best friends. I'm so lucky. Don't give me that face. I'm just lucky. Okay.
That's what happens when you can't handle nice things being said to your face. You just kind of ruin it.
Well, I know. You're probably mean to yourself in your head too. You just don't say it out loud because you have a better filter.
No, I just make it real funny.
So which of these books cover that?
Probably so many.
Oh, that's such a good question. Look at him.
Yeah, which ones cover me? Probably How to Be Miserable in Your 20s.
So actually, I already talked about that one.
Okay, so we're not talking me in the chat.
I mean, I can talk about it again if you need me to.
No, that's fine.
Because I'm myself.
No, I just thought it was funny.
I do too.
I'm guessing The Worry Trick probably talks about it.
Probably. Well, a little. Okay. What other books do I have?
Intuitive Eating. The Mindfulness Solution.
The rest of that book is called Practices for Everyday Problems.
Yes. I was like, should I be reading the subtitles?
It's fine. I like the rest of that title.
The Motivation Myth. How high achievers really set themselves up to win. Letters to a Young Therapist.
We're going to talk about that, but that's really not for most of the audience unless they're therapists.
Willpower Doesn't Work. Discover the hidden keys to success.
That one is good.
And The Narcissistic Family, Diagnosis and Treatment.
That's it. That's the one.
That talks about being, honestly, I was going to say, if it's not, like, I would argue Intuitive Eating probably does to some degree. I don't know. I haven't read it.
I don't remember the question. ADHD.
You're talking about not being able to
any
take
of
a
these
compliment.
books. Yeah. Talk about being mean to yourself. Yeah.
Definitely The Narcissistic Family.
Oh, yeah. No, duh.
Duh. A little bit The Worry Trick, maybe.
Maybe.
And then intuitive eating, a little.
Yeah. That would be my guesses. But, like, I would just imagine that if you're, like... So the extended title for The Worry Trick is How Your Brain Tricks You into Expecting the Worst and What You Can Do About It. That just speaks to people getting all wound up in their head and then doing that thing where they catastrophize that thing.
Yeah. So,
which is just, I feel like, a form of being mean to yourself.
Yeah, so do you want to start with that one?
I'm like, I'm holding the books apparently.
The Worry Trick. Let's see if I can get this in here. Okay. So this one actually is really, really cool. I prescribe this all the time because people talk about worry. And put it back. Okay. Freaking filler words. So this book, man, they're really going to be sick of me. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just sick of me. I like get on my own nerves. Do y'all do that? Maybe this book is specifically for that. It is so for that.
I was like, I don't think you're intending to do exactly what the book is talking about.
I know, but it's kind of perfect, right? Yeah. So what happens is you have these thoughts, worries, right? And worries is just rumination. And I meant to talk about this. I need to do a short, so maybe I'll just make this into a short. Let's just turn it this way so I can cut it to a short. So the Worry Trick talks about rumination, and what rumination is where it comes from the term from cows, because cows ruminate where they have 4 chambers of stomachs. And so whenever they're thanks, Avery. Yeah. So whenever they swallow the grass or hay or whatever it is that they're eating, if the stomach that it goes into doesn't digest it enough, they throw it up and ruminate and then chew on it some more. So that's kind of what your brain is doing whenever you're ruminating. You are throwing up the idea and then chewing on it some more. Disgusting, but that's what rumination is. All right, my
Sexy.
okay, they're gonna hate that, I think, but maybe I can cut it so that it doesn't look like I just
Did what you just did.
did what I did for a short.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's rumination. But yeah, did y'all know that that's where rumination came from?
I don't remember where I learned it, but I did know that.
I might have told you that.
Possibly.
Talk about it all the time.
Well, also, I don't know. Like, I feel like this is more of a joke than an actuality. I feel like there's a part of me that is just like, yeah, I probably should have known what rumination is. I'm from Texas. We have cows. Yeah, it's like, yeah, that thing with the cud and the thing, the cows, they do, yeah, the cow thing. Chomp, chomp. Except for they don't have, like, they're herbivores, so they have,
Kind of just grinding.
yeah. No, that sounds super sexy fun times, and definitely not gross or stressful at all.
Yeah, so that you do that in your head. But the thing is, whenever you ruminate, you actually get dopamine from worrying.
Oh.
You know that?
That I didn't know.
Yeah, so worrying is addictive because you're like, I have this feeling and I don't know what to do with it. And so you decide to do something called worrying because it feels like you're doing something, even though you're not.
Yeah.
And so the more you do that, you're like, oh, well, nothing happened. And so then you get this feeling again, and you're like, what am I gonna do? I know, I'll worry. And so then you just keep doing this, and then it creates this negative feedback loop. I don't remember if the worry tree talked about that, but I do know that I listened to a You Are Not So Smart podcast about it, and that's where I for sure heard about it, but it may have reinforced it in this book. But the worry trick does talk about a trick, and I don't want any spoilers. I don't want to tell you what to do or else you won't buy the book. But buy the book and it'll tell you how to solve that problem. It's really great. It's smart. You can also come to therapy, not with me. I mean, you can come to therapy with me if you're in Nevada and have ADHD. But, or Michigan. I'm licensed in Michigan too. Did you know that?
I remember you talking about it, and it's still such a random thing, so it's...
I know.
But also, you are a queen of doing random things.
Queen of craziness.
Yes.
Yes. So, yeah. So, Michigan or Nevada. And what did you tell therapy? We'll talk about the worry trick.
How much of that applies to me, and how high on my book list, reading list should it be?
Well, the thing is, you're going to see a lot of people with anxiety, and anxiety usually presents with worry. So you might want to read this in like the first 9 months, because this is a trick that works really, really well.
Does it talk about how worry and anxiety present in the body? Because I'm really somatic for the internets to be aware. I'm really like somatic and like a body focus with the work that I do, and so that's something I'm always curious about if they talk about.
I think.
I come from a much more trauma lens than Sarah does.
I know, I'm so CBT. Feeling afraid in the absence of danger, how odd is that? I will tell you the answer is very CBT.
Got it. Probably not my specific choice then.
Because it's very behavioral.
Makes sense. Which, like, it's good. It's both and. Like, that's the reality of this stuff, is that, like, I might do somatic work, but that's not necessarily all you need to be doing. If you aren't, like, challenging your thought processes, then, like, you're going to be missing out on an integral part of the work. I also just end up getting a lot of clients that, like, know intellectually what they're supposed to be doing, and so it ends up being this funny thing of, like, interrupting that, like, hey, can we just get out of your head for like 2 seconds? Just 2 seconds. The brain is running, that's fine. means that we're not thinking about it. We actually don't need to think about it right now.
Yeah. Well, the way that I always talk about that is I kind of have people, because I tell that story. I've told you that before, right? About not being to myself.
I believe so.
Yeah, so then I talk about like, and again, it's all behavioral then, because I'm like, well, let's talk about how you tell yourself this and then you do all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think I should just tell the story?
I mean, if they don't know the story,
I've never talked about the story. Not here anyway.
Yeah.
So, alright, anyway, we'll figure.
I was like, I'm gonna be honest.
There was another one. I said the A word. We're gonna have to figure this out afterwards. I'll just like make a counter for it whenever I edit, and then I'm not gonna edit these out. They're really gonna be sick of this though. Isn't that what podcasts are for though? Is like some bullshit banter?
I think so. I mean,
I could be wrong.
I do feel like the ones I listen to have a little bit more structure than what we're currently doing.
Do the podcasts you listen to be in a car with 3 ADHD people?
I mean, I haven't checked, but there's definitely a vibe. Look, I'm not saying every ADHDer gets a podcast, but there's an overlap.
That's fair. That is so fair. This is why my YouTube sucks right now. It's fine. We'll edit some of it. I just won't edit the ums, or maybe I'll put them at the end. Okay. So, back to the story. So, whenever I was like 6 months into seeing clients in grad school, but I feel like that's wrong, I recognized that I was being really, really mean to myself, and I was just being a total bitch in my head. But I was telling all of my clients, like, you need to be nice to yourself. You need to speak to yourself in a kind way. And then I felt like a total hypocrite. And so I was like, how am I going to deal with this? So I decided that every time that I noticed it, I would thought stop and tell myself, if you're going to be a bitch to me, you don't get to talk to me. Nobody else talks to you that way, and you don't talk to anybody else that way. So we're just not going to do that. And so then I was like, well, what am I going to say to myself, or what am I going to think or do if I'm not saying these mean words to myself, or if I'm not talking to me? And so I was like, okay, well, you can go on a walk, you can call a friend, you can scream in your head, you can go, ah, you can listen to music really loud, you can listen to a podcast or an audiobook, or you can do mindfulness, or you can count to 1,000,000. Like, I don't care what you do, Sarah. You just cannot be a bitch. Like, it's not okay. And so then it had been about 6 months after that where where I was doing something that I wish that I wouldn't have been doing, because my Nana had just died and I didn't feel good about it. But instead of beating myself up, I was like, of course this is what's happening. Like, you're in one of the worst times in your entire life. Like, you won't do this forever. It's gonna be different. And then I like noticed that I was like talking to myself like I would talk to a client. I should just say I was smoking. Like, Ben already knew that I was smoking cigarettes. I'm pretty sure he knew.
Otherwise, he's gonna find out now. I'm gonna watch your YouTube.
Oh, he doesn't though, so I think
Time to
I'm
confess
fine.
all your sins.
Right? Yeah, we talked. I mean, he had like caught me a few times, so it's not like he never knew.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, you're not gonna keep smoking forever. Like, this is stupid, but it's okay. Like, it's just one day out of your whole life, and you're not doing it every moment of every day. It's not like it's ever been. And yeah, so then I was like, oh, I did it. I wasn't a bitch to myself. Finally. It wasn't being shameful to me. And so that's kind of whenever it started, and it took me 6 months, but I was 31, I guess, and And so it was like 31 years of being mean to me, and then only 6 months, and I was nice.
I mean, that's a pretty quick turnaround. All things considered.
Right? That's what I'm saying. So, you know, just...
Yeah. I think the struggle, though, with that is, like, being present in your own head enough to catch every single time you do it, because you don't realize how often you just impulsively think about yourself until you're, like, asked to take pause to actually do that.
Yeah.
And there's a real uncomfortable moment when you're asked to take pause to do that, because you're like, oh, God, it's, like, all the time.
It is. Well, the thing is, so because I've cultivated this habit, I just like am constantly reading books or listening to articles or whatever, and I'm just like, well, man, it's just cool. Or I'm meditating or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But that helps me with my ADHD, right? To just not be so mean, spiraling constantly.
Yeah, because I feel like it just makes the symptoms worse. Like, your symptoms are going to be present regardless. That's the nature of ADHD. And also, like, no one is good at managing their... If they're dysregulated, I don't know if you know that fun fact. Like, so, like, if you already struggle with, like, impulsivity, if you already struggle with, like, depression, if you already struggle with, like, anxiety, being activated isn't going to make that stuff go easier. If you struggle with memory, guess what? You're not going to remember if you're talking to yourself. Like, well, you fucking idiot, why didn't you remember this thing? And it's like, yeah, because you're belittling yourself this entire time. You're shutting down now.
Yeah, so that really helped, and it's helped for years now, because I'm just not mean, and then I'm able to say those nice things, and also I'm not like on edge all the time anymore, so I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, and my brain isn't so full of just toxic.
Yeah, no, because you're not chronically attacking yourself. Amazing how nice it is when you're not, like, moving through the world, just chronically attacking yourself. Oh my God.
Yeah, because it was constant.
Yeah, well, and I think this is one of those things that, like, I don't know, what I love about the current culture is that mental health is more of a conversation now than it ever was. And the downside to that is that it means, like, concepts from therapy have gotten out in, like, layman's terms, or have gotten out in these short snippets, and there isn't, like, the vast depth of expression that is needed to explain some of this. And so when I think about, like, the amount of times I've heard this conversation just out and about of, like, oh, be nicer to yourself, it's like, yeah, everyone intellectually knows that already now, and it doesn't actually break down how you do that step by step, like the process it actually takes to start tuning into your thoughts. Or that, like, this was an interesting one I thought about more recently, that this idea of being nice to yourself might be a big ask sometimes for people who have been mean to themselves for so long and have heard mean things, because you usually, like, don't start saying those mean things to yourself. Like,
Comes from somewhere.
Yeah, you got it from somewhere. So you've been hearing this for a while outside of you before it started internalizing. And so, like, the thing I've been doing a lot is trying to practice, like, being neutral first and, like, building up from there to being nice. Because sometimes neutral is still, like, way kinder. And not even still, not sometimes, always. Neutral is still way kinder.
Well, and I think that makes the point about, like, the smoking thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't be like, yeah, you're smoking, right? Like, but you also shouldn't be an asshole to yourself, because shame doesn't work.
Yeah, and so, like, that was such a beautiful example of just, like, well, you're not going to be doing this forever. But you're doing it now, and it is. It just is. And, like, yeah, it just is, because sometimes we're just people, and we just are. Like, you make a mistake, and it's like, that's a really human thing I just did.
Yeah.
Look at me being a person.
Right. Yeah, because there were so many things that I could have said to myself, like, especially I was between clients. It was like, there were so many things, but I was like, I'm not going to do that. That's what Sarah would have said.
We don't like Sarah.
Right? And I'm like, no, I'm going to be kind, because I would be kind to my clients, and I would be kind to my friends. So what does kindness look like? Kindness looks like holding yourself accountable and knowing that you're going to change and you're going to work on it. But you can't work on it when you're being...
Yeah, no, that doesn't actually grow anything.
Right. So yeah, neutral.
Yeah.
So speaking of, I'm like pointing at myself like I'm being mean, but it's just one of those, like, disappointment. It's kind of more what I'm feeling, like frustration and disappointment.
And you are allowed to be disappointed with yourself.
I know. It's
Not a
okay.
fun.
The thing that we can talk about when we talk about the tapes in our head, and they came from somewhere, that's a perfect segue into the narcissistic family diagnosis and treatment. I love this book. I actually read it right before I got into grad school. And we're gonna have to stop soon because we're almost to the alien jerky place. But I read this right before I got into grad school, and I recommend it all the time. The book sounds really scary, but it's not. So what happened was I read an article by Will Wheaton. Yes, that Will Wheaton. And Josh is like, oh yeah. And so he's a huge fan. If you're watching this, Will, Josh loves you. And so I had read an article about him talking about his family and how he read some kind of narcissistic family book. And so I went to the Amazon page that he had listed, and I read the reviews, and I was like, okay, maybe. And I'm so weird about books. I'm a freak. And so somebody else had recommended this book instead, and so I got this one, and it's amazing. The title looks really scary, and it's written by therapists for therapists, but it's so easy to read. And like I said, I read it before I went to grad school, so I technically had a bachelor's in psychology, but really it's just a bunch of like vignettes, and it tells you like feeling stories and like people pleasing and responsibility and control, and it's super easy to understand, and it can help you fix your own stuff because it's treatment as well as diagnosis, right? It can say it says this is what families who look like this are, and this is how to help them and yourself. So yeah.
I don't remember what other narcissistic family system book there was, because I remember there was one that I had also gotten a recommendation for, and I started trying to listen to it because I'm an audiobooks person, and it was just so dense. It could tell it was written by therapists, and with the expected thing that a therapist would be reading it. And like, yeah, I'm a therapist, but I don't want to read books that are written for me. They're boring. I want to read books that are written in a way that like we understand that you want this to be entertaining.
Yeah, no, this one was really easy to read, and it was like, it made me cry like a lot. But
in the same vein, I would recommend Disarming the Narcissist.
Okay, you heard it from Avery. He recommends Disarming the Narcissist.
Gives you a little bit more hope, because I think there's a lot of, there is definitely a lot of like information about narcissistic family systems or people with narcissism that it makes it feel really scary and impossible. And like with any like mental illness, the people who have it need to want to change for sure, but like it's also makes it feel more realistic and grounded.
So the thing I love about this one is it's not actually about like narcissists necessarily. It's about a narcissistic family system, which is like parents who believe that their children are property, or that they should follow a certain thing. And it was really hard actually going to grad school, because that's almost structural family systems theory.
Yeah.
And so they were like, yeah, the parents should be in control and the kids should just follow the rules. And I'm like, that is totally against what this book says, but all right, let's go for it. I'll structure the family this way.
Well, and that's such a, like, from our own historical model. And yeah, you do see that structure when narcissism, like diagnosable narcissism, is present, but not, you can also just have like a really authoritarian parent.
Right.
That might not be like a diagnosable, that might be something else, you know,
Right.
That might be like some other things going on that isn't necessarily
And I'm not
narcissism.
really talking about structural family therapy.
Yeah.
I think it can be really great.
Yeah, there's time and place.
It's just not my brand. You'll see. You'll get there.
Turns
like, I
out
don't
he'll
know what to
actually be
say.
super into structural family therapy, and then y'all will have to
Yeah.
war over it. Yeah. Fight to the death.
All right, let's take a break and go get some jerky and then come back. What do you think?
Sounds
Do y'all hate it so
delicious.
far? Do you love it? What are you thinking?
like us.
Yeah, 1 out of 10. How do y'all feel about this?
I feel like we're hitting a better stride now. It was definitely like feeling like a little disoriented, and we're getting like a thing going.
What do you think?
Feeling like I can learn a lot.
Yeah.
He's like, I just like being in the presence of therapists.
He's like, I'm just happy to be here.
All right, see you soon. Bye. I don't think it was 4K.
Gonna be now?
Yeah. What do you think about that?
That'll be an editing you problem.
I don't even care. I don't even like jelly. Okay, so we just talked about the narcissistic family diagnosis and treatment, and then we had some jerky. My mouth is still really hot. Maybe we should talk about it. Yeah, pepper jerky, and I ate that one to cool off my mouth from the alien extreme hot jerky, hot beef jerky. Yep, it's still hot.
I did find your limit. 2 million Scoville hot sauce was too much.
Well, only at that place. I feel like I eat other million Scoville hot stuff that, whatever that hot ones one is, the atomic one, that one I can eat. It's not that big of a deal. But that Houston hot.
Top chicken was a little much.
Yeah, that was. I did eat a lot of it though. I
You
feel
did?
like I ate like half. Was it half?
Yes.
It was definitely
That's what I
a third.
remember.
And I should not have eaten those fries. It was hot.
My boy back here just munching.
Alright. What book do you want to talk about next?
Let's talk about intuitive eating.
Now, speaking of food, let's talk about intuitive
What's funny
eating.
is I didn't mean it to be on the nose as I'm like chewing, but I'm like, yeah, you know, I could actually use this because I know that I'm a little bit eating just because the texture and flavor and like to chew, not actually because I have room in my stomach anymore.
Well, I mean, so intuitive eating actually is about, at least from what I remember from reading this like 2 or 3 different times, is about making peace with food, free yourself from chronic dieting forever, and rediscover the pleasure of eating. So if you're talking about eating for pleasure, even if you're not hungry, right? So if you're doing it because of the flavor and the taste and the texture of food, then I mean it's okay. Like you shouldn't shame yourself just because you're enjoying eating food. And so that's one of the things that it talks about is like being mindful of eating and making sure that you know that you're eating above your limit.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call it, but also like recognizing that it's okay to do that sometimes. Like maybe you don't want to do that every single meal or every single snack, but recognizing that you're doing it and asking yourself if it's what you want to do and if you're okay with doing that. And if that helps you meet your goals.
Yeah.
And if you even need to have goals, right? Because some of it is about like ditching diet forever.
Well, that's something when I was looking at the title, it says like in the corner of the book, a revolutionary anti-diet approach. And like, oh, we grew up in the 90s, dieting. I mean, it's still, it wasn't just, obviously it's been a thing for years. It's not just the 90s.
Right.
There was like the whole like 90s heroin chic.
Right.
Good.
Right. Well, and it's not talking about, like, there's a whole chapter on like buying new underwear, because it's saying that if you're not comfortable in your clothes, then you need to have clothes that fit and that make you comfortable. But also it's not like necessarily like it's not embracing your size, right? Like being healthy at whatever size is okay, but it's also saying like if you need to do it for health reasons or whatever, then there are healthy ways to like lose weight or gain weight or do whatever you need to do for your health. And this is just like an approach to do that. Like I don't know about you, but I always recommend people meeting with a dietitian if they're talking about weight at all. Especially if they have insurance, because insurance covers it most of the time. So, sorry, I know you're like chewing, and beef jerky is one of those things that...
No, and I picked like the biggest, toughest piece. That's fine.
Yeah, that garlic jerky though.
No, it's very dense. I mean, like, it's tasty.
My teeth hurt just for...
No, exactly. Like,
chewing.
I'm setting it aside because it was just like, it was starting to become not fun anymore because I was a little full, but I still wanted that last bit of garlic flavor, so I'm like,
yeah, well, that's one of the things I learned from this book, because I don't know if I had ever heard that before. It talked about satiety and like that feeling you get in asking yourself if your first bite is as good as your next bite or your last bite. And so like actually paying attention to whether it tastes good still, or if it's still good, because a lot of times we just eat meat and don't even think about what the flavor of the food is in our mouth.
Yeah, no, the way I framed it is like, is this still fun anymore? Because if it's not fun anymore, why are you doing it?
Right.
And like, not even just with like food, because I feel like there's a similar like adjacent conversation about like, so I'm like a little gamer guy, I play video games, and so like about like gaming and sitting down to play games, or if we've all done the scrolling on our phone, we've all done the like sitting and like binging a show.
Oh, I'm so embarrassed. So the amount of times I have sat on Facebook and been scrolling and been like, I'm so bored, I should get on Facebook.
Oh my god, it's like you're literally, yeah. Or the amount of times I've like been on Instagram scrolling, because I'm not really on Facebook anymore, but I'll be scrolling, and then I'll back out of Instagram because I recognize I'm not enjoying it anymore. And then I'll go to try and find something else to do, and then I'll open up Instagram again. And I'm like, I just closed you. Why?
Right.
Why did I? It's not like it's gonna be like, yeah, sure, I can refresh the page, but it's not gonna bring me any more joy.
Yeah,
actually.
it's that dopamine seeking.
The dopamining, I believe.
Oh, yes, that's the word. That's the ADHD terminology for today, folk.
Yes.
Well, I still don't like that word, folk. I've been saying it more, though. Folks.
Yeah. But yeah, like, it's that, I mean, it's kind of like the conversation earlier about getting in touch with your body enough to notice when you're, like, talking badly about yourself, but also in the same vein of just getting in touch with your body, with your mind, to know when you're not feeling good anymore, or when you are feeling good. I feel like I've been in such a place right now in my practice where I've been talking a lot about like leaning towards joy or leaning towards euphoria rather than like just looking at what people don't like and what they're trying to get rid of, because it just gives you like a clearer path of what you want to do more of, rather than just trying to be like, we gotta fix it. You know, the building, you building solutions, you know, that's like your thing. You love that.
What? I come up with solutions?
Yeah.
Who said I was a solution-focused therapist?
Not I, never, no.
I didn't write a whole capstone about it or anything.
No. But, like, yeah, because at the end of the day, everything, there's so much that we do that's just, like, for coping. And you can do too much of anything, too much of a good thing. Like, you can get sick off too much water.
So, I think, like, that's perfect for the mindfulness solution.
Yeah.
book.
Let me pull it up.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it was just made me
it's like-
think.
Good segue.
Wow. The mindfulness. I didn't know how big this book was because I have it on Kindle. Everyday practices for everyday problems. So I love this book because it has so many things for mindfulness, right? There are like literally for everyday problems. So it has parts for depression and anxiety, and then it also has sections for like worry and sadness and transforming pain and stress related medical problems and living a life full of catastrophe, mindfulness for romance, parenting, and other intimate relationships, breaking bad habits, and learning to make good choices. But I think my favorite part of this book is the part about like the mindfulness practices that it has. And so it has ones for like eating and walking, and it just talks to you about how to do different mindfulness practices. And it even has like inventories. So I a lot of times will be in session, and people who have struggled with like eating, I will walk them through the raisin meditation. Have you ever heard of this?
Stopped your recording.
I did. I just love optimizing your sex life and insomnia. What a great place to talk about. I know, right, Avery?
I might skip through
step for science. Breaking bad habits. Oh, informal eating meditation. Here we are. This is amazing. Okay. So yeah, chapter 3. I knew it wasn't that far behind. So it says the raisin meditation in chapter 3. So y'all can try this if you get this book. I just love it. For real, for real. It's like, I didn't think it was this far behind. So yeah, you do the raisin meditation. You do like 10 minutes of breath meditation, and then you have like a raisin. But most of the time, my clients don't have raisins, so I always just have them grab whatever they have there, and then you examine it, and you're supposed to do like 10 to 20 minutes of, like, this is supposed to take a long time. But you look at it and look at the ridges and valleys and the color, so you're practicing mindfulness, right? And then you listen to it. Try not to put it in your ear. Smell it, and then you put it in your mouth, and then you kind of hold it there. You put it between your teeth. Don't bite down yet, and then you bite down, and then you also notice how you feel about biting the raisin that you just spent so much time noticing. And then you chew the raisin, and then they have questions like, where did you get those raisins? A single raisin is satisfying. Like, it's just, I don't know, I like it. And I've done this with a raisin, and it's really weird to taste a raisin mindfully. We should try it. Get some trail mix. We could do it with beef jerky, but
I think I'm good on the raisins.
You will maybe be surprised at how raisins taste when you eat them mindfully.
I'm willing to do it with a dried cherry.
I'm not a huge raisin fan either, but it is surprising. So yeah, chapter 3 of Mindfulness Solution. They also have like walking meditation and driving meditation. So I love that there's like so many options, especially for people like me who really struggle with meditation in general, because I don't like breathing meditation and it makes me anxious. Do you have any problem with meditation?
It's like I can reliably do like 3 to 5 minutes of meditation tops before I'm like, I am bored and gonna rip my ear out. Yeah, like that's always the struggle, is like doing that breath. And so I try what I jokingly call like microdosing meditation.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I'll make my coffee and I'll try to like pause and like hold the cup and like really feel like the warmth of the cup, and like sit there and like smell the coffee. I love the smell of coffee. Just like smell the coffee and like be really appreciative in that moment of those little things. And so it's like if I can get like little moments of that like pretty regularly through my day, I feel more settled. There's not to say that there is a value in carving out time to like actually sit down and meditate. I would encourage people to do it. This is just what I'm doing in the place that I'm in. This is my solution to my brain.
If I do like too much breathing meditation, if I focus on my breath too much, I will like hyperventilate. You're focusing on it too much there. You're breathing too deep. You're breathing out too fast. Whatever. And so it just makes me really, really anxious. So I try and do like more grounding stuff, or like pay attention. And I can't pay attention to my body too much either. Like I don't like body scan meditation because I have too much pain. If I think about my head too much, I will have a migraine. So I just have to like do, like you said, pay attention to my coffee, pay attention to the heat, pay attention to the things I'm seeing or in the surrounding area.
Yeah. I'm lucky that I'm an enabled body, so I don't actually have to worry too much about like body scan stuff. But that one is really like body scan meditation is really helpful for me when I'm really like emotionally distressed and when I'm really like keyed up. And usually I'll catch it when I've like been on my phone for too long of like, oh, what are you avoiding? Alright, man, like do the thing. Do the thing I tell my clients to do so I can hold myself again. Yeah, so I mean, if it's any consolation, if you ever groan at a thing your therapist tells you to do, we groan at ourselves and we tell ourselves to do it too, just so you know. Like,
you mean me editing my video this morning?
Yeah.
Ugh, stop calling me out.
I mean, that was also a self-call out.
I know.
I tell my clients all the time, I'm just like, just so you know, I also groan when my therapist tells me to do it. I'm also like, what are you telling me to do? What do you think, I pay you for this?
Oh, the best part was, like, me and my therapist were getting off track this morning, and then I was like, oh, let me tell you about this thing. And she was like, you want to actually do therapy today? And I was like, yeah, I do.
Yeah, I
guess I'll redirect my own therapy.
Guess I'll do my thing. Yeah. What are we thinking?
I don't know. What else do we have here? I can't even see my flare. I kind of can.
We talked about intuitive eating. We talked about the worry trick. We talked about the narcissistic family.
We are like halfway done. Look at us being on track. It's just motivation is just naturally happening. Like, it really isn't on purpose, which is crazy, right? Although I do feel like I do that in therapy, where I'm like accidentally leading people.
Well, and that's also the reality of all of this being so deeply interconnected. Like, it's all one big, it's systems theory. It's all one big system, like all wrapped, and they all like play off each other, ripples in the pool or domino event, and you know, whatever metaphor. But like, it's because it's all connected, it does segue so easily into each other. Like, even the intuitive eating stuff, like, we weren't talking about video game addictions, and that still relates.
Right.
Like, it's the mindfulness, the act of being mindful about like your life and like what you're doing, and are you actually being present for any of it? And if you're not being present, how do you know that you're enjoying it?
Right.
Or not enjoying it even? And then how do you know where to go from there?
Right.
So,
well, I also think part of what might be happening too is I chose all of the books that I recommend to my clients all the time, and this is that I just deal with and talk about.
sure, fair. That's also, yeah.
So it could
We do have a bias sample.
that.
Yeah.
People watching out there are going to be like, this is just y'all.
Also, though, I feel like I preemptively pulled, well, for one, because these are the last two. Well, yeah, these are the last two we have to talk about. But I also feel like willpower doesn't work goes very well with that. I gotta go do the thing.
I'm trying to figure out which one would go. We're going to talk about this one first.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think. I might regret it later, but we'll see.
We'll find out.
And find out. All right, so the motivation myth is about the motivation myth. Turns out that most people put the cart before the horse when it comes to motivation. Did you know that?
This sounds vaguely familiar.
Okay.
It might have been talked about in the Depression Cure to some degree, or I'm thinking of some other book.
I have that book, both like the physical book and the audio book, I think, and I have never read it.
It's pretty good.
That's what I hear. And that's the reason I have both.
Yeah.
Not like the body keeps the score. Nope. I get it. It's just a me thing.
I also hear the body keeps the score is like an exhausting read because it's very dense.
You've never read it?
I haven't read it. It's like I believe with it in the value systems that I've heard that are present in it, but I haven't actually sat down to read it.
As somebody who's so somatic.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I'm judging you just a little.
I mean, that's fine. I'm like, I am not like, you're welcome to judge. I don't care. I'm like,
It's fine.
I've gotten that information through other things. I didn't need to read like the big book for it. Also, wasn't the guy who wrote it like a douchebag?
I am not going to say anything about that. I'm just going to say that I did not appreciate the book as somebody who struggles with migraines and an extra vertebrae, endometriosis, polycystic ovaries, all of that. Yeah, I don't want to be told that I'm harboring all my trauma.
I mean, there is like a real big overlap between autoimmune and like trauma.
I get that, but I don't know that.
But like, it's one of those things that I think it can very easily fall into that like crunchy granola territory of like just do these things to like fix your body, and it's like, no, you still need medical intervention sometimes.
Well, yeah,
or
and
all the time.
Do you know how all the women in my family got rid of their migraines? Getting pregnant and having babies.
No.
Yeah, so that also sounds like some Freudian
I don't
Your
know.
face is priceless.
I'm just sitting here. I'm like, I just feel like I'm getting more migraines now. Look, like I get bodies change. Like my mother became allergic to seafood after giving birth to me, which is why pregnancy sounds horrifying to me now. Because I love seafood. I stole her love of seafood. It's hilarious. It's also the biggest crime. So I'm just like, I get that the human body can change in a weird way post-pregnancy. And so maybe, whatever, some switches were flipped, but that feels weird. I don't like that.
I also can't do that.
Yeah, there's also that. The immediate oh no was like, that's not fair.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
Yeah, so the fact that they're like, this is just blah, 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 I'm like, nope. And if it is, then I gotta deal with it some other how and keep going to therapy. We'll see. We segued way off of the motivation myth and the cart before the because most people think that you get motivated and then you feel like you want to go do the thing, and so you get ready to do the thing, and then you do the thing because you felt like it, which sometimes that does work, but the majority of the time you have to
Actually start.
get ready to do the thing even though you don't want to, and then go do the thing, and then all of a sudden you feel like you want to do it. You're like, oh, this is great. I don't know if you've had this experience, but I have this experience a lot, and it has nothing to do with my clients. I love them. But I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, I don't want to go to work. And I do think that has to do with society telling us that work sucks and blah, blah, blah. I love my job. But a lot, or even like editing videos, right? I haven't done enough of that to be like, this is the best thing ever. But as soon as I get started editing a video, if I set a timer for 20 minutes, I'm going to work for an hour and a half. But I have to get started. And as soon as I get started, I'm like, this is the best. But as soon as I'm sitting in my chair with my clients, I'm like, this is wonderful. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, well, because the things that I get, like, for one, when I think about all the things that make me go, oh, I don't want to go to work, it's I don't want to get out of a comfy, cozy situation, my bed. I don't want to do all of the, like, getting ready accoutrements and then drive my car to my office.
I don't even have to drive. I work from home.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, exactly.
And I wear comfy clothes. Literally.
Yeah. So, like, those are all the things. And then the annoyance of taking notes, because none of us got this job to take notes. We got this job for the human element.
I've gotten really good at taking notes, though.
Yeah, like, and I mean, not all of us can be that blessed.
I can teach you.
But in that vein, it's, even for those, it's getting the ball rolling. What was the thing I've been, an object in motion stays in motion. You gotta roll the ball down the hill first.
Yeah, an object at rest stays at rest. Oh, that's what a sleep doctor told me once. She's like, get your out of bed and go do something.
I told that to someone after we had that conversation about it, because that's the thing too, is like there's in adjacent conversations, there's like the conversation about executive dysfunction and analysis paralysis, and like you just get caught in that loop of like wanting to do or telling yourself to do, which I also noticed that once you're in like executive dysfunction phase, you're also in the negative self-talk phase. So you're like, why can't you just do it? Why don't you get off your ass and just do it? And it's like, yeah, because you're berating yourself.
Yeah.
So instead of you're like, look,
so just do it.
yeah, and or at the very least start with well, just stand up. Just stand. You don't necessarily have to then go like do the dishes or whatever thing that you're avoiding doing, but you're standing now.
There is science to show that even if you just shift your body, it will help you get out of that executive dysfunction.
Yeah, I saw it was either a TikTok or a meme, but either way, that someone had heard from their therapist of like struggling to get out of bed, of like, what if you just like wiggled and flailed and like wiggled yourself out of bed, and apparently it worked. And I don't know how I could not like have a little giggle while like wiggling myself towards the edge of my bed.
But you
like,
don't even have to do that. Even if you like, if your legs are crossed one way and you cross them the other way, that will help get you to move.
I mean, I do like that because it's just a little sillier. It invites a little play into your morning.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but also if you're not into the wiggling,
you know,
cross and uncross your legs.
Or if you're in bed, like turn over to your other side.
Yeah, some little taps or something.
All right, get on your stomach, whatever.
Yeah. Do a little like shoulder shake.
But I think that you're right about how it leads into the willpower doesn't work, because discover the hidden secret, Jesus Christ. Discover the key.
Would you like me to?
Nope. Discover the Hidden Keys to Success by Benjamin Hardy. Okay.
You can't willpower yourself through that title, Sarah.
Nope, I cannot, because willpower doesn't work.
Yeah.
But this one actually was super, super duper good. And some people might feel really weird about it because, and I don't know if I don't say this that people would actually know. But Benjamin Hardy apparently is LDS. And the reason that that's important is because it's not that the book is like necessarily based off of that, but the book basically says that people they don't have a decision to make about coffee or tea or alcohol. It's just a rule. So there's no decision to be made. And so whenever you make rules about certain things in your life, you don't have to make any willpower about it. And I think the reason that it was really interesting to me is because another book that I didn't get him, I don't know why I didn't get you this one, because it's everywhere, like super cheap, because people give it away even though they shouldn't, is Alan Carr's The Easy Way to Stop Smoking, or Stop Smoking the Easy Way, I don't remember, but I think it's The Easy Way to Stop Smoking. It also talks about like making a rule to stop smoking. He's like, you're just now a non-smoker. You don't buy cigarettes because you don't smoke anymore. Although I will say I love that book because it's very motivational interviewing style, where he doesn't talk about like your lungs or whatever, but he does have you. He's like, if you're not smoking right now, light a cigarette, so that you can practice mindfulness. It's like all the things that we've been talking about, right? And so then he's like, now I want you to smoke your last cigarette and then you're done. This is your new rule. This is your new life. Like the nicotine monster is going to sneak up on you. But yeah, so willpower doesn't work. It just talks mostly about like creating rules for your life and how to do that and what rules to set for yourself, and like the reason that willpower doesn't work because of ego depletion. So it explains that. So yeah, I don't know. I liked it. What do you think about this idea?
I feel like in my practice, I just call that living your values.
That's exactly what it is. That is 100% what it is. But I think it's a good book for that.
Yeah. And well, then it comes to the whole thing of like, identify your values, blah, blah, blah. But
I think he talks about that too.
Yeah, of like figuring out, because and this is just a me thing, and like I don't love the idea of like a rules language, but like I come from an authoritarian background, and when it is your own, exactly. But also when it's your own rules, then it's a different setup. And at the end of the day, like we do feel happiest, generally speaking, when we're living our values. And so long as we can at least like have sense that we're aligned with whatever core value is.
And he might call it that. I haven't read this book in a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, Laura only knows. And the book that is in my hand, that I'm not, like, that's not enough for me to read it.
You're like, I didn't find the word rules or values in here. In my speed reading.
I'm not going to make a claim in either direction. I did see tortilla in here somewhere. I'll be making 100,000 by whatever date. Yeah.
Have you seen that short, or it's from America's Got Talent, or it's one of the Got Talent shows where the guy's like, I'm the fastest speed reader in the world, and so he picks up all the books and he's like, blah, blah, blah.
2 seconds.
Yes. Go on.
No, I did not see it, but...
Ben shows it to me sometimes. He has like a list of saved videos, and that's one of them. And he just laughs. I freaking love it when he does that. Like, Ben's laugh. Have y'all ever like gotten to experience a Ben like really laugh?
I don't think so.
Oh,
no, I think
it's a treat.
I think at most I've gotten like a little chuckle. You know?
When he like really laughs, like his eyes like and then it's like I wheeze when I chew. Oh man, I love him.
That's so cute.
I know, I'm gross. I don't know. You ready for? Is that the last book?
Yep. Letters to a Young Therapist, which I feel like is a good note to end on.
I know. So this one I don't actually recommend for most people. They won't understand what's going on. However, if you're a therapist, even if you're like an old therapist, it's still a great book to read. Or if you're a supervisor, also a great book to read. But we got it for Josh because he's a baby therapist. Actually, it's funny because Josh and I started listening to this book probably 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Was it the year that we came here with Brian?
I think so, yeah.
So I think it was 3 years ago. So right before the pandemic started. So I think it was February 2020. And we were listening to it either on the way here or on the way back. I don't remember. But each chapter like the different things that the writer is going through to her supervising. And so she's like, well, these are the kind of things that I'm struggling with as a therapist, and these are the kind of things that I think that you would be struggling with. And so, and it's just sweet. Like, as a therapist, I was just like, and then Brian and Josh are sitting here going like, and I don't, 3 years ago, I guess you had already decided to be a therapist because you were back in school, yeah? He had just decided, mostly. And then Brian says he wants to be a therapist, but he's not back in school yet. So one day, we'll see. Maybe not. I don't know if he wants to move on to something else, but that's okay. Either way, it's fine. But it was one of those things where because they weren't there yet, they couldn't relate to the things, right? And so, chapter on pain. So yeah, like self-care. Avery's face. That's so amazing. Marriage. So yeah, I think it's just like, it was cool for me to listen to it, and I just think that it can be so helpful because so much of the things that we go through as therapists are relatable to each other. We've all been through it, right? Like when we sit in supervision, we're like, oh my God, can you believe this happened? And most of us are like, yep, been there. Let me tell you about it. And so I feel like this book was very much that. Thought it was sweet, and like I said, I don't recommend it to everybody, but if you're a therapist or in the caring, helping professions, like, definitely a great one to read. All right, we are pretty much done. Was there anything else y'all wanted to talk about?
I got nothing.
I had a weird thought when you guys were talking about notes.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go for it.
Do you find when a client sees you taking notes, they become hypersensitive or something about what they just said or overanalyze it?
So I don't take notes in session because that's somewhat a lie, because I'll sometimes take notes during a web session because I can like have the paper off screen, so I feel a little less like I'm creating that dynamic with my clients. But I'm just not someone, I could even take notes like in school. I can't listen and write notes at the same time. My brain just doesn't like coincide those two things. But I have found that in the times when I have like been sitting in front of like a web session and decided to like scribble some things down, I have had some clients ask and be like curious about it. I have had some people like be concerned about what I might be thinking, but then it just becomes like a conversation point of like, and that I think ends up building a stronger therapeutic relationship of like what the notes actually serve the purpose for. Because for me, like, they aren't really like, they're about the client kinda, but they're really more about the session as a whole, so they aren't really about the person at all. It's like that we met and we had like a general conversation about whatever we had a general conversation about. And I'm not gonna say that I always lose it, but that generally seems to. Yeah.
And I take notes occasionally. Like whenever I'm just in a mood, I'll be like, oh, today I have a notebook for a month, and then I get rid of it. I don't use it anymore. But I don't know, like, and most of the time whenever I'm taking notes, it's like I have a whole bunch of new people. And so it's one of those things where I'm just trying to keep track of the 5 new people that I have. And so I'm like, your family, and this is what's going on with you. Or if they're like, okay, I'm going to give you a whole bunch of information that I need you to digest. And so I'm like, okay, like, let me write it all down. And so, or if they have like something that they really need to figure out, and I need like pros and cons or whatever, and I need to be able to not hold it all in my brain.
Yeah, I think the closest to like, I think more often than taking like notes in session, it's like that of like, oh, well, we're going to do an activity about it now, because clearly we need to like, we're going to do the genogram or whatever the fuck.
I've done a few of those.
I don't always dislike them. It's definitely like a time and place.
I have had a few that I liked, but I'm just so triggered because my first therapist. I was like, you're wasting my time. I just need to dump my boyfriend. Like, like honestly, I don't need to tell you about my great-great-grandpa. You just need to help me dump my boyfriend. He was a great person, not for me.
Yeah, no. Like, a great therapist can be a great therapist. Doesn't mean they're a great therapist for you.
Well, no, not my therapist, my ex-boyfriend. Also, Lorraine, my first therapist. therapist was probably also great, just not for me.
Yeah.
But also, you know, those experiences are great because it teaches me the kind of therapist I wanted to be and what I didn't want to be. And, like, you learn from it all.
Right on.
Yeah.
Anything else?
That was all I had.
Josh is just so unfull of questions because he doesn't know what to ask. Hashtag blind spots.
You're not wrong.
We'll cover those next time. Not really,
Can't know what you
maybe.
don't know.
Okay. Thank y'all so much. I really appreciate you for driving. I can't wait to go to Six Flags tomorrow. It's going to be so much fun. And then for coming with us because this is going to be such a new experience. Not really because we brought other people to Six Flags, but you know, like,
Yeah.
I've never got to go with you. I can't wait to scream our heads off together.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I also haven't been to Six Flags in like a while, and I miss it so much. I
I
mean,
hope your ear crystals are like where they're supposed to be so that you don't get sick.
probably. I assume. Like,
Sometimes it can change when you eat a whole nut of them.
jeez.
See?
Look, if I can't ride on a roller coaster, just take me out to pasture.
Well, the
Like,
thing is, you
I'm
can
done.
retrain yourself. Ben trained himself to like drive the Formula One car in VR because it was so important to him. He made himself sick over and over again.
That'll just be me making what we're gonna CBT with Sarah. I'm gonna make myself
Exposure
sick.
therapy.
I'm gonna make myself sick over and over again. Like I'm writing. I swear to God.
Oh my gosh! All right, thanks again for like having this conversation with y'all. It was so much fun. Maybe we can do it again sometime. Maybe not in a car. Maybe in a car. I don't know. We'll see how great the audio
We'll do
is.
karaoke next time.
Don't tempt me with a good time. I'm about to serenade y'all. You just don't know. You've never been in the car with me this long.
You know, you also don't want to hear me do karaoke.
I do. All right. Thanks, y'all. Bye. I just won't edit the ums, or maybe I'll put them at the end. Anyway. Oh, I don't think y'all have already caught me on ums yet. Maybe not. But ums and anyways.
Ah.
So ums and anyways. Starting now. So, didn't do it. It was a
It was it doesn't count.
It doesn't count. It was only half. Anyway. Oh, okay. One.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Because people talk about worry and put it back. If the maybe more.
I mean, truly, I am not being a good friend and keeping count about that.
Alright. Anyway, we'll figure.
So I was like, I'm gonna be honest.
There was another one. I said the A word. I'm like pointing at myself like I'm being mean, but it's just one of those like disappointment.